Hi everyone, welcome. Today we're focusing on undergraduate interviews in Hong Kong. Whether you're a DSE candidate applying through JUPAS or an associate degree student going the non-JUPAS route, university interviews have their own unique expectations and challenges. In the following slides, we'll break down exactly what makes undergraduate interviews different and how to prepare strategically for your specific situation. Let's get started. Before we dive into the specifics, let's establish something important. University interviews are fundamentally different from job interviews. In job interviews, employers emphasize proven capability and experience. They want to see what you can already do, or at minimum, how quickly you can become productive and contribute to their organization. They're hiring you to perform. University interviews work completely differently. Universities know that most of you are 16 to 20 years old. They know you have limited work experience. In fact, most of you have none at all, and that's completely fine. What they're looking for instead is genuine interest, intellectual curiosity, and your potential to learn and grow in the field. So when you prepare, don't stress about lacking impressive achievements or experience. Instead, focus on demonstrating real curiosity about your chosen field and your readiness to engage with university-level learning. That's what really matters. So if it's not about your achievements or CV, what exactly are interviewers looking for? Let me break this down into 3 key areas. First, they're assessing your thought process. When they ask you a question, they're less interested in whether you get the right answer, and more interested in how you think through problems. Can you analyze different perspectives? Do you ask good questions? Can you handle uncertainty and admit when you don't know something, then work through it logically? This is what university study is actually about. Second, they're looking for evidence of self-driven learning. Have you gone beyond what's required in your DSE subjects or associate degree courses? Maybe you've watched documentaries about topics that interest you, followed news related to your field, or asked questions in class that went deeper than the syllabus. They want to see that you learn because you're curious, not just because there's an exam. Third, they want to see authenticity. Can you articulate why this subject matters to you in your own words, not in rehearsed, generic statements? Have you actually thought about where this degree might take you, even if you're not entirely sure yet? Universities can spot someone who's genuinely engaged versus someone just going through the motions. For those of you applying through JUPAS, your interviews tend to be faster paced and more spontaneous. Let's look at what that actually means for your preparation. JUPAS interviews are typically shorter and more dynamic. You might only have 15 minutes with the panel, which means things move quickly. Instead of long, reflective discussions about your background, expect rapid-fire questions that test how you think on your feet. Many JUPAS interviews use scenario-based or hypothetical questions. These are designed to see how you respond to unfamiliar situations in real time. For example, for business or management programs, you might get, your team project is due tomorrow, but one member hasn't contributed anything. How do you handle it? They're checking whether you understand teamwork dynamics and ethical responsibility. Even for science or engineering, you might face problem-solving scenarios. If you had to explain how a smartphone works to someone who's never seen one, where would you start? Of course, the interviews would not expect textbook answers. They're actually observing how you think and whether you can articulate your reasoning under pressure. You won't have time to overthink, and that's intentional. While most JUPAS interview questions and settings follow a generic structure, you can still make educated guesses about the specific purpose of your interview and adjust your approach accordingly. Some programs use interviews to assess qualities beyond academic ability. Medicine and social work are perfect examples. Yes, they care about your grades, but they also need to see if you have the emotional intelligence and communication skills to handle real people in vulnerable situations. In these interviews, you want to give thoughtful, balanced answers that show maturity. Display conventional mannerisms, demonstrate empathy, and avoid controversial positions. They're checking if you're someone patients or clients can trust. On the other hand, some subjects in the Faculty of Arts, like anthropology or philosophy, are known for admitting students primarily based on public exam results. If you're called for an interview in these programs, there's a good chance you're a marginal case. Your exam scores alone weren't quite enough to secure admission, so now they need to decide whether you're worth a special admit. In these situations, play a different game. Be more ambitious. Show that you've actually engaged with the subject beyond the syllabus. Reference thinkers you've read, questions you've pondered, or debates you find fascinating. Prove that you have genuine intellectual curiosity and some depth of thought. They need a reason to pick you over others with similar scores, so give them one. Given the fast-paced, scenario-based nature of JUPAS interviews, your preparation strategy should focus heavily on generic questions that can come up across any program. Practice articulating clearly why you chose this specific program. Not just "I'm interested in it," but what specifically draws you to the subject? What aspects excite you? Prepare to discuss current issues relevant to your field. For social sciences, know what's happening in Hong Kong society. For business, understand recent economic trends. For science programs, be aware of major developments or debates in your area. You don't need to be an expert, but you should show you're paying attention to the world around you. Work on explaining your thought process out loud. Practice talking through how you'd approach unfamiliar problems, even if you don't reach a perfect conclusion. Remember, they're evaluating how you think, not whether you have all the answers. Finally, prepare smart questions to ask at the end. Avoid asking things easily found on the website. Instead, ask about teaching style, research opportunities, or what makes successful students in this program stand out. Non-JUPAS interviews run differently. They are typically longer and more focused on your academic journey. Let's talk about what associate degree and higher diploma students specifically need to demonstrate. Non-JUPAS interviews have a different focus. Interviews dig deeper into whether you truly understand what you're signing up for and whether this path makes sense for your future. Here, your first aim is demonstrating subject understanding. As a sub-degree student, you've already had some taste of university-level study. Interviews want to see that you can connect what you've learned to what you'll study in their program. They might ask you to discuss concepts from your AD courses, or explain how specific modules you've taken relate to their curriculum. This is your chance to show you're not starting from zero. You've already developed some foundation and you know what academic study in this field actually involves. The second aim is showing this program fits your life plan. Universities are investing in you for 3 or 4 years, and they want to know you've thought seriously about why you're here. Where do you see this degree taking you? How does it build on what you've already studied? Here's the challenge with non-JUPAS interviews: it's impossible to prepare for every possible question because the scope can be incredibly wide. If you browse internet forums and read sharings from past interviewees, you'll see just how varied these questions can be. Translation studies programs might ask what books you like to read. Gender studies might bring up recent Hollywood news and ask for your opinion. So how do you prepare for something this open-ended? Focus on building versatile answers that you can adapt. First, identify which school of thought or approach within your subject you tend to gravitate toward. Pick something uncontroversial that you can explain clearly. For example, if you're applying for sociology, maybe you find symbolic interactionism more intuitive than structural functionalism. You don't need to be an expert, but having a perspective shows you've engaged with the material. Second, have one or two names from the field that you actually know something about and can cite when relevant. Not just dropping names to sound impressive, but scholars or practitioners whose work you've genuinely encountered and can discuss briefly. This gives you anchors for your answers. Third, and most importantly, practice linking everything back to both your passion and your academic interest. When they ask about current events, connect your answer to why this subject matters to you personally and how it relates to what you want to study. Make every response reveal something authentic about your intellectual journey. University interviews can feel intimidating, but remember what they're really about, showing who you are as a learner. Whether you're going through JUPAs or non-JUPAs, the universities want to meet the real you, someone curious and ready to grow. Prepare strategically, stay authentic, and trust that the right program will recognize your potential. I hope these insights help you in your upcoming interviews. Thanks for watching.